Protect yourself by staying silent. Good morning, everyone. Silence. It's not just the absence of sound, it's a strategy, a shield, and sometimes a necessity. In a world that demands constant interaction, response, and vulnerability, we often underestimate the power of restraint, the choice not to speak. But here's the thing, silence isn't weakness. It's not avoidance. When used with intention, silence is wisdom in action. It's a way of protecting your energy, your boundaries, and your peace. Today, let's talk about why silence can be your greatest ally, especially when protecting yourself. Because sometimes saying less means saving more your dignity, your relationships, and your well-being. Silence is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools we have in establishing and maintaining boundaries. It's a subtle, often misunderstood form of communication that can speak volumes without uttering a single word. In a world that celebrates loudness, boldness, and constant interaction, silence can feel counterintuitive, yet it is an essential practice when it comes to protecting ourselves emotionally, mentally, and even physically. Silence is not about avoiding conflict or evading responsibility. It's about creating a space where respect for oneself and others can thrive. When we think about boundaries, we often imagine them as explicit lines drawn in conversations or relationships. We picture ourselves saying, I can't do this, or this is what I need. While verbal communication is a crucial part of boundary setting, silence offers an alternative that can be just as effective, if not more so, in certain situations. Silence can convey what words cannot. When someone speaks to you in a way that feels disrespectful or intrusive. Choosing not to engage is a powerful message. It signals without confrontation that their behavior is not acceptable and that you will not entertain it. This type of silence isn't passive, it's intentional. It creates a pause. A moment where the other person must consider their words and actions without the distraction of a rebuttal or justification. Silence also allows us to maintain control over our emotional energy. When someone challenges us, pressures us, or tries to provoke a reaction, it's easy to feel compelled to defend ourselves. But not every situation warrants a response. Our reacting to everything is exhausting and often unnecessary. Choosing silence in these moments is a way of reclaiming your power. It's a way of saying, I will not let you dictate how I feel or how I act. By staying silent, we draw a boundary that prioritizes our peace over the need to be right or to be heard. Furthermore, silence can serve as a boundary by allowing us to take the time to process our emotions before responding. Not every situation requires an immediate answer, and not every conflict needs to be resolved on someone else's timeline. Silence gives us the space to think, to breathe, and to decide how or if we want to engage. This pause can prevent us from saying things we might regret or from agreeing to things that compromise our values. It creates a buffer between external demands and our internal capacity, ensuring that our responses are deliberate and aligned with our true selves. There's also a certain respect inherent in silence. By choosing not to respond in situations where words would escalate tension or conflict, we respect both ourselves and the other person. Silence acknowledges that not every disagreement needs to end with a winner or a loser. It allows for mutual reflection and the possibility of resolution without unnecessary harm. It's a way of stepping back to let emotions settle and to approach a situation with more clarity later, if necessary. Silence, when used as a boundary, is not about shutting people out, but about protecting what matters most, our sense of self, our emotional well-being, and our peace. It's a reminder that we do not owe our words or our energy to every situation or person that demands it. By embracing silence as a boundary, we give ourselves the permission to preserve our own space, to choose our battles wisely, and to communicate in a way that honors both our needs and our values. Not every disagreement or confrontation requires your participation. The reality is that in our fast-paced and opinionated world, we're constantly presented with opportunities to argue, defend, or explain ourselves. It could be a friend making an offhand remark, a stranger on social media leaving a provocative comment, or a family member pressing on a sensitive issue. The invitation to argue is everywhere, but accepting every single one of these invitations is not only exhausting, but also unnecessary. Declining to engage is not an act of avoidance, it's an act of self-preservation and wisdom. When someone confronts you with a challenge, criticism, or differing opinion, it's natural to feel an urge to respond. Often, this impulse is tied to our need to be understood, to prove a point, or to stand up for what we believe in. However, the truth is that not every argument leads to resolution, and not every confrontation is rooted in mutual respect or a genuine desire for understanding. Some people argue not to resolve, but to provoke, dominate, or vent their frustrations. Engaging in such arguments rarely leads to a constructive outcome and often leaves us feeling drained, angry, or disrespected. Choosing not to participate in an argument doesn't mean you're weak or incapable of defending yourself. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It takes strength and clarity to recognize when a discussion is unlikely to yield a productive result. Declining to engage is an exercise in emotional intelligence. It requires you to assess the situation and ask yourself whether your energy and time are best spent responding to the provocation. Often the answer is no. Walking away from an unproductive argument demonstrates a level of control over your emotions and priorities that arguing for the sake of arguing does not. Another aspect to consider is the toll that constant engagement takes on your mental and emotional health. Arguments, especially those driven by ego or misunderstandings, can be draining. They pull you into a cycle of defensiveness, frustration, and in some cases, regret. When you choose not to argue, you're setting a boundary that prioritizes your well-being over the fleeting satisfaction of winning a debate. You're reminding yourself that peace is more valuable than being right, and preserving your energy is more important than proving a point to someone unwilling to see it. Additionally, stepping back from unnecessary arguments allows you to maintain a sense of control over your reactions. It's easy to be pulled into an emotional response when someone pushes your buttons, but choosing silence or a simple acknowledgement without further engagement shows that you're not easily swayed by external pressures. This level of composure not only protects your peace, but also commands respect from those around you. It sends a clear message you are not available for petty or unproductive exchanges. There's also power in the realization that you don't owe everyone an explanation. Your values, opinions, and choices are yours alone, and they don't require validation from others. When you engage in every argument, you inadvertently give others influence over your emotional state and sense of self. By declining, you reclaim your autonomy and reinforce that you don't need external approval to stand firm in your beliefs. In choosing not to attend every argument, you make a deliberate decision to invest your energy in things that truly matter. Arguments can often derail us from our goals and distract us from meaningful conversations and relationships. When you let go of the need to engage with every challenge, you create space for more positive, uplifting, and growth-oriented interactions. This is where your time and energy are best spent, not in the endless cycle of arguments, but in building and nurturing connections that truly add value to your life. Silence is a powerful form of communication that often speaks more profoundly than words ever could. While we live in a society that values articulate speech and quick responses, there are moments when silence holds the greater strength. It allows us to convey emotions, intentions, and boundaries without needing to verbalize them. Silence, when used intentionally, becomes a tool that transcends language, delivering messages with clarity and impact that words may fail to achieve. One of the most striking aspects of silence is its ability to demand attention. When someone chooses to stay silent in a situation where a response is expected, it creates a sense of gravity. The absence of words compels others to pause and pay attention, filling the space with curiosity or reflection. This phenomenon is often seen in moments of conflict or disagreement, where silence can diffuse escalating emotions or highlight the weight of an issue without adding more fuel to the fire. Instead of reacting impulsively, silence creates a buffer that forces everyone involved to sit with their thoughts and consider the situation from different angles. Silence can also be a profound expression of emotion. When words fail to capture the depth of what we're feeling, grief, joy, love, or even disappointment, silence steps in to communicate what cannot be articulated. A moment of shared silence between individuals can convey more empathy, understanding, or solidarity than an hour-long conversation. It allows people to connect on a deeper level, free from the constraints and potential misunderstandings of language. In this way, silence becomes a shared space where mutual understanding thrives. Another remarkable quality of silence is its ability to create space for others to be heard. In conversations, particularly those that involve sensitive or difficult topics, silence can encourage openness and reflection. When we resist the urge to fill every pause with our own thoughts or opinions, we give others the room to share their perspective fully. This kind of intentional silence fosters trust and respect, signaling that we value the other person's words and are present with them in the moment. It transforms conversations into meaningful exchanges rather than one-sided monologues. Silence also has the unique power to challenge assumptions and provoke thought. In situations where someone expects a reaction, be it an argument, a demand, or a pointed question, silence can shift the dynamics. Instead of playing into expectations, choosing silence allows you to maintain control of the narrative. It can leave the other party reflecting on their actions or words in a way that a direct response might not. This kind of silence isn't about avoidance, it's about creating a moment of introspection, both for yourself and others. Finally, silence can serve as a way to honor the moment. In a world that moves at an overwhelming pace, taking the time to embrace silence allows us to appreciate the present. It can be an act of mindfulness, a way to ground ourselves and truly absorb the beauty, gravity, or significance of a situation. By remaining silent, we allow the moment to speak for itself, free from the distractions of commentary or analysis. In these ways, silence speaks volumes. It communicates strength, presence, and intentionality in ways that words often cannot. It is not about withholding, but about choosing when to express and when to let stillness carry the message. Silence is often viewed as passive or submissive, but in reality, it can be one of the most powerful tools for self-protection. In a world that constantly demands our attention, energy, and reaction, silence allows us to create a safe space for ourselves, a sanctuary where we can reflect, recover, and regain control. By choosing when to remain silent, we protect our emotional well-being, maintain our boundaries, and navigate complex interactions with greater clarity and intention. One of the most significant ways silence serves as self-protection is by shielding us from unnecessary conflict. Not every comment requires a response, and not every situation benefits from our participation. When we engage in every argument, critique, or provocation, we expose ourselves to emotional strain and the risk of escalation. Choosing silence in these moments is not about avoiding the issue, but about preserving our peace. It is an intentional decision to disengage from negativity and focus on what truly matters, rather than being drawn into unproductive confrontations. Silence also protects us from overexposure. Vulnerability is an important part of authentic connection, but it must be shared selectively. Not everyone deserves access to our innermost thoughts and emotions, and silence provides a way to safeguard our personal truths. In a world that often pressures us to overshare, remaining silent allows us to retain a sense of autonomy and control. It creates a boundary that says, I will share when I feel safe, and only with those I trust. This kind of discretion is not about withholding, it is about valuing our inner world and choosing to reveal it only when it feels right. Another way silence acts as self-protection is by giving us the space to process our emotions before responding. When faced with difficult situations, our first impulse might be to react, often driven by anger, fear, or frustration. But these immediate reactions can lead to words or actions we later regret. Silence creates a pause, a moment to reflect and gather our thoughts. It allows us to respond from a place of calm and clarity rather than being swept up in the heat of the moment. In doing so, we protect not only ourselves but also our relationships, avoiding misunderstandings and unnecessary harm. In challenging or hostile environments, silence can also be a way to de-escalate tension. When we choose not to engage with aggression or negativity, we refuse to add fuel to the fire. This doesn't mean we're conceding or agreeing, rather, we're choosing a path that prioritizes peace and safety. By staying silent, we signal that we're not willing to participate in the dynamics of hostility, creating a barrier between ourselves and the negativity around us. Silence protects our mental energy as well. Constant engagement, whether in conversations, debates, or social media interactions, can be draining. By choosing when and where to speak, we conserve our energy for the things that truly matter. Silence becomes a way to filter out the noise and focus on what aligns with our values and priorities. It allows us to say, "This does not deserve my time or attention," and to move forward with intention. Ultimately, silence as self-protection is not about avoidance or weakness. It is a conscious choice to prioritize our well-being. It is an act of self-respect, a way to assert our boundaries, and a method for navigating the complexities of life with grace and resilience. In a world that constantly demands our voice, silence reminds us that our energy is finite, and protecting it is an essential act of self-care. Silence is a gateway to clarity. In a world that often feels dominated by noise, distractions, and constant demands for attention, silence offers the opportunity to pause, reflect, and reconnect with our inner selves. It is in the stillness of silence that we can step away from external pressures, allowing our minds to process, organize, and distill the chaos into clear and actionable insights. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is an active state of being that fosters understanding, focus, and self-awareness. One of the most profound ways silence enables clarity is by creating the mental space to reflect. When we are constantly engaged in conversations, tasks, or digital interactions, our thoughts can become fragmented and overwhelming. Silence interrupts the cycle, providing a moment to breathe and think. It allows us to sift through our emotions, separate facts from assumptions, and prioritize what truly matters. Without the distractions of noise and chatter, we can better understand our feelings and motivations, leading to more thoughtful and intentional decision-making. In silence, we are also better equipped to tap into our intuition. Intuition often gets drowned out by the constant input of external opinions and information. When we embrace silence, we quiet the external world and give ourselves the chance to listen to our inner voice. This process is crucial for making decisions that align with our values and goals. Silence gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves meaningful questions. What do I really want? What is my next best step? How do I feel about this situation? The answers that emerge from this quiet self-exploration are often more genuine and insightful than those reached under pressure or in the noise of a hurried world. Silence also helps us gain clarity in our interactions with others. When conversations or conflicts become emotionally charged, it is easy to react impulsively, leading to misunderstandings or unnecessary tension. By pausing and allowing silence to settle over the situation, we give ourselves the space to process what has been said and to respond with thoughtfulness rather than emotion. Silence acts as a buffer, offering a moment to think critically and communicate more effectively. It also signals to others that we are listening and considering their words, which can foster mutual understanding and respect. Another key benefit of silence is its ability to reveal what is truly important. In the absence of noise, we can focus on what remains. Silence strips away the distractions, leaving us with the core of what truly matters. It helps us separate the urgent from the important, the superficial from the meaningful. This clarity enables us to make decisions that are more aligned with our long-term goals and values rather than reacting to the pressures of the moment. Finally, silence allows us to reconnect with the present. In a world driven by constant movement and future-oriented thinking, silence anchors us in the here and now. It reminds us to appreciate the moment, to observe our surroundings, and to be mindful of our experiences. This practice of mindfulness not only reduces stress, but also provides a clearer perspective on life as a whole. Through silence, we find clarity. It is a process of tuning out the noise and tuning into ourselves, fostering understanding, focus, and alignment with our truest intentions. Silence is not empty, it is rich with potential. It gives us the space to think, to feel, and to connect with what truly matters. In the stillness, we find clarity, a clearer mind, clearer emotions, and clearer paths forward. By embracing silence, we don't just pause the noise, we create room for understanding, for growth, and for purpose. So as you move forward, remember to carve out moments of quiet, to listen to the wisdom within, and to allow silence to guide you toward clarity in all areas of your life. Thank you.